I'm a lawyer, so I pass the bar and everything, but I enjoy this more. I get out and get to meet people and get outside and get to work with insects and stuff, which I find really interesting.
Travis Walton may be a lawyer, but he's known as the Bee Man, and it's been that way for a while.
I've been doing this since high school. I started with my grandpa when I was 15, and then after he retired, I took over. He started this as a beekeeper, and people kept calling him to come get their honeybees, and he'd find yellow jackets. So he saw it was an opportunity for a side hobby and turned it into a business over the course of 30 plus years, and now here I am.
And here he is with one of his employees, Daniel, at a house in Newton Falls, getting rid of the harmful bees, yellow jackets, hornets, and wasps. The warm winter makes him very busy now.
It's been really strong this year. We had such a mild winter that, we're more than double last year's calls right now. A lot of the bees that we have in this area, wasps, yellow jackets, they have to hibernate over winter, so the queens survive over winter while their nests die out.
Okay.
And a mild winter means that more of them survive the winter, so they come out and then start more nests the next year.
This is one of 3 calls today on the schedule. The mild winter, along with the middle of the summer, they combine to keep his phone ringing.
A lot of wasps still. We've had an unusually long nesting season for wasps. So I'm getting a lot of wasp calls right now, which is what we're doing here today. And yellow jackets are starting to come in. Yellow jackets and bald-faced hornets are coming in a little bit early this year. So I've been starting to see a trickle up. Usually it's the middle of July when those start, but they're about the size of a softball right now, their nests. So I've been getting a couple calls where people are cutting their shrubs and getting stung up from that, or they're building out in pretty obvious places.
Now, if you say, I thought we weren't supposed to kill the bees, you're right. But that doesn't include the dangerous ones.
My grandpa always called them good bees and bad bees. I mean, everything has its place in nature. But, the things like pollinators, your honeybees, bumblebees, there's a lot of different pollinators that we try to do our best to preserve. Honeybees, we offer cutout services where we'll take them out of a wall alive, or we pick up swarms. We actually pick up swarms of honeybees for free, or I send out other local beekeepers who can pick up swarms of honeybees for free. And we do that to try and encourage people to call and to make sure that we're saving and helping to preserve their populations.
And after 20 years in the business, Travis knows which are good and which are bad. And he also has respect for the insect and its nest, something we should have too.
It is good to have a healthy fear of them, because being fearful of them means you're responsible around them. You want to give them their distance, and I don't get up close to an aggressive hive unless I know that I have my protection on. It's just common sense, so you got to make sure that you're giving them the space that they ask for. So keep 20 feet away from any nest that you're coming across, especially if it's yellow jackets, bald-faced hornets. Those are the very, very aggressive ones. Those are the gray paper ones, or those are the ones you'll see coming in and out of the wall or in and out of the ground later in the summer. Really anything after July, if you're noticing it, the rule of thumb is it's probably yellow jackets or bald-faced hornets.
And speaking of obvious, I had to ask him the obvious question. How many times has Travis been stung?
That is a very good question, and I have no idea because it's been a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's more a question of how many times do I get stung in a week, although this week I haven't been stung. But, I've had a few calls this year, even where I get into my honeybee hives, sometimes they are kind of grumpy, and they'll sting you up a little bit if you're just trying to sneak into the hives and not putting on your full protection. Sometimes they make you pay when you try and get away with one, but I'm pretty good at taking precautions. So for the millions of stinging insects that I handle every year, I really don't get stung that often. Last year I went a good 3 or 4 months without getting stung, but as soon as you go 3 or 4 months, then of course you get stung 3 or 4 times in a week, and it has a way of making up for it.
Turns out bees don't necessarily want to sting you, but they'll do whatever is necessary to protect their home.
Most of them don't. So most of especially anything in the bee family, your native pollinators, your honeybees, they're pretty docile. Although some strains of honeybees, they can have some Africanized genes in them. We don't have any fully Africanized bees around here. Sometimes they get some aggressive genes in them though, so those will be a little more aggressive. But almost anything is if it's defending its nest. Something like yellow jackets or bald-faced hornets, they defend their nest much more aggressively. So if you come in within 20 feet of them, you're running a risk of getting nailed, or even if they're by your door, just closing your door, the vibration from that will bring them out to sting you. Most of the people that get stung that we come across, it's usually yellow jackets, followed by bald-faced hornets, and then probably honeybees just because there's so many of them.